Seated riding? Let's go!
The first time I saw somebody riding seated on an electric unicycle, I almost rode into a curb laughing. I said, "Look at this guy." He turned his wheel into a recliner. It looked ridiculous. I could not understand it. We already ride one wheel. Now somebody added a seat and turned the thing into a rolling bar stool. I swore I would never do it. I was standing proud. I said seated riding was cheating. I said if my legs got tired, I would just tough it out. Then I started going on longer rides. That is where life starts teaching lessons. At 20 miles, everybody feels tough. At 30 miles, you start having conversations with your body. At 40 miles, your knees start making business decisions without you. I remember one ride that changed everything. The weather was nice, the roads were smooth, and I was having a great time. Then my feet started burning. Then my calves tightened up. Then my knees started feeling like somebody replaced them with rusty door hinges. I got to a red light and could barely stand there. I looked like I had just climbed a mountain carrying groceries. Meanwhile, my friend was next to me, seated, relaxed, hands in his pockets. He looked like he was taking a scenic tour. I looked like I had been sentenced to manual labor. I asked him if he was tired. He said no. No? What do you mean no? We have been riding for almost an hour. I felt betrayed. I looked at his seat. I looked at my knees. I started doing math. The next week I bought one. I did not tell anybody. I felt like I was joining a secret club. The package arrived. I brought it into the house like I was hiding evidence. I did not want my riding friends seeing me. I installed it quietly. Then I took it outside. The first attempt was embarrassing. Trying to sit on a moving electric unicycle is one of the weirdest things you can do. Your brain keeps saying this is a terrible idea. You start lowering yourself down and your survival instincts start yelling, "No, stay standing. We know how standing works." I almost gave up. Then I finally sat down. The angels started singing. Everything changed. My legs relaxed. The wind was not punching me in the chest. I felt comfortable. I also looked ridiculous. I knew I looked ridiculous. I did not care. Comfort changes people. I started using the seat on every long ride. Then I noticed something funny. The people who make fun of seated riding usually say the exact same things. "That looks goofy," "It is not real riding," or "I could never do that." Then those same people start posting things online about how their knees hurt, their feet go numb, and their legs are exhausted. You know who does not post those things very often? The people sitting down. I saw one writer say that seats ruin the experience. What experience? The experience of your legs giving up, the experience of walking like an old cowboy after every ride. I have done that walk. You get off your wheel and suddenly every step becomes a negotiation. Your knees are talking. Your ankles are talking. Even your toes have opinions. You get home and sit on the couch and realize you are not getting back up for a while. Some people think seated riding looks funny, but everything in this hobby looks funny. I have ridden past entire families that stopped and stared. One little kid pointed at me and looked completely confused. I have seen people pull out phones and record. I have seen drivers slow down because they thought they were hallucinating. We crossed the line into looking ridiculous the second we decided to balance on one wheel. The seat changes nothing. I remember one group ride. Everybody was standing. I decided to sit for part of the ride. I heard every joke. "You getting old? You tired already? You need a rocking chair too?" I laughed. I kept riding. An hour later, we stopped for a break. Everybody else looked exhausted. People were stretching and rubbing their knees. One guy was bent over with his hands on his legs trying to recover. I hopped off my wheel feeling fantastic. That is when the joke stopped. Suddenly, people had questions. How is that seat? Is it comfortable? Was it hard to learn? Amazing. 30 minutes ago, I was an old man. Now I am a product demonstration. I have noticed another thing. The longer somebody rides electric unicycles, the more they start appreciating comfort. The new riders want everything to be hardcore. No seat, no brakes, no comfort. They want to prove something. Then they start doing longer rides. Then reality arrives. Reality always wins. Reality shows up and says your knees are not made of titanium. Then the shopping begins. Suddenly they are looking at seats online. I know because I was that guy. I made fun of seated riding. Then I became the thing I laughed at. That is life. You mock something long enough and eventually you buy one. I have seen riders remove their seats because they think it makes the wheel look cleaner. I understand. But after 50 miles, I do not care how clean my wheel looks. I care about whether my legs still work. I want to get home and still be able to walk into the kitchen. I do not want to hold on to the countertop while my knees remember how to function. There's another funny part about seated riding. People assume it is easier. It is not always easier. Learning to ride seated can be awkward. You feel different. Your balance changes. You have to get comfortable with it. But once it clicks, it is like discovering a secret feature. Suddenly those long rides become enjoyable again. You are not counting miles wondering when you can stop. You are just riding. That is the whole point anyway. To enjoy the ride, not to see who can suffer the longest. Nobody gets an award for sore knees. There is no trophy, no certificate. Nobody says congratulations. You stood for 60 miles and now cannot climb stairs. I remember the ride that completely sold me on seated riding. It was a long commute, a really long one. I spent most of it seated. At the end of the ride, one of my friends got off his wheel and looked miserable. He was stretching everything. He was making noises. Every movement sounded painful. I got off my wheel and felt great. I could have ridden another 20 miles. He looked at me. Then he looked at my seat. Then he asked the question every rider eventually asks, "Where did you get that thing?" I started laughing because I remembered making fun of seats. I remembered saying they looked ridiculous. I remembered saying I would never use one. Then it hit me. The seat is not for your backside. The seat is for your ego. Because every rider eventually reaches the point where they have to choose. Do you want to look cool for another 20 miles? Or do you want knees that still work next week? And every single time your joints start hurting, your ego suddenly becomes very affordable. That is why I stopped worrying about looking ridiculous. Because at the end of the ride, the people laughing at the seat are usually the same people limping to their car. And if I ever put a bumper sticker on my wheel, it is going to say this: making fun of seated riding is just pre-ordering your own seat. Thanks for watching.